Welcome to Streaming News Network, Morning Edition, by Claude McDaniel. News without the hype and biased reporting. Please like and subscribe.
This is Claude McDaniel with Streaming News Network. A newly released financial oversight report alleges that more than $225 million in fraud affected kindergarten through 12th grade education programs over the past 6 years. The report reviewed Federal Education Inspector General findings issued between October of 2019 and March of 2026. Investigators identified nearly 90 alleged fraud cases spanning 24 states and Puerto Rico. The allegations include embezzlement, fraudulent invoices, inflated student enrollment figures, bid rigging, kickbacks, and misuse of taxpayer-funded education programs. Approximately $67 million has been ordered repaid through court rulings and settlements, although officials say it remains unclear how much has actually been recovered. Among the largest cases, investigators allege 2 Indiana online charter schools improperly received $44 million by overstating enrollment. In Puerto Rico, a tutoring company allegedly billed $24 million for services that were never provided. Other major cases include allegations of contract fraud in Florida and Texas, with some defendants already convicted in federal court. The report also questions whether existing oversight is sufficient, noting that only 3 of the nation's 20 largest federally funded school districts appeared in the federal investigations reviewed. Supporters of stronger oversight argue that every dollar lost to fraud is money no longer available for classrooms, teachers, and students, while the report concludes that greater accountability at the state and local levels could help safeguard education funding in the future. This is Claude McDaniel with Streaming News Network. Attempted murder charges have been dismissed against a California radiologist who was accused of intentionally driving his family off a 250-foot coastal cliff after successfully completing a 2-year court-approved mental health diversion program. Dharmesh Arvind Patel had faced 3 counts of attempted murder following the January 2023 crash along the Devil's Slide section of California's Highway 1. His wife and their 2 young children survived the crash with injuries. According to court officials, California law required the charges to be dismissed after Patel successfully completed the diversion program. Prosecutors stated they did not oppose the dismissal because the law leaves judges with no discretion once the program has been completed. During earlier court proceedings, medical experts testified that Patel was experiencing a psychotic episode at the time of the crash. His defense also argued that he suffered from major depressive disorder. A judge previously ruled that his mental illness significantly contributed to his actions, making him eligible for treatment rather than a traditional criminal trial. Investigators had originally concluded there was probable cause to believe the crash was intentional. However, Patel's wife later indicated that she did not want her husband prosecuted. Patel has also surrendered his California medical license. The case has drawn national attention as an example of the difficult balance between criminal accountability and mental health treatment within the justice system. This is Claude McDaniel for Streaming News Network. Former Wisconsin Judge Hannah Dugan has been sentenced to pay a $5,000 fine after being convicted of obstructing federal immigration agents, avoiding what could have been a prison sentence. A federal judge ruled that incarceration was unnecessary, citing Dugan's decades of public service and previously law-abiding record. The court described her actions as a significant departure from an otherwise exemplary career. Dugan was convicted in December on a felony obstruction charge stemming from an April 2025 incident at a Milwaukee courthouse. Prosecutors argued she interfered with federal immigration officers attempting to arrest a defendant who had allegedly re-entered the United States illegally. According to court testimony, Dugan directed immigration agents away from the courtroom before escorting the defendant and his attorney through a private jury exit. Federal agents later located the individual outside the courthouse and completed the arrest after a brief foot pursuit. Jurors convicted Dugan of obstruction but acquitted her of a separate misdemeanor charge alleging she concealed a person to prevent an arrest. Dugan, who resigned from the bench earlier this year, told the court her actions were intended to preserve courtroom safety and order, not to violate the law. Her attorneys argued she has already faced significant personal and professional consequences and confirmed they plan to appeal the conviction. The case is believed to be the first in Wisconsin in which a state judge stood trial on charges related to obstructing federal immigration enforcement. This is Claude McDaniel for Streaming News Network. A former college basketball player has been arrested and is facing federal charges after prosecutors accused him of carrying out an alleged fraud scheme that victimized multiple people and involved nearly $2.2 million. Federal prosecutors have charged 25-year-old Gere with 5 counts of wire fraud. Authorities allege the scheme operated between 2022 and June of 2026 while Gere was in West Virginia. According to investigators, Gere allegedly used fabricated identities, false representations, and deceptive communications to persuade victims to send him money. Prosecutors also claim he made false statements, including claims that his mother needed cancer treatment, to gain the trust and financial support of victims. Court documents further allege that Gere signed a written agreement promising to repay one victim $100,000 by February of this year. Prosecutors contend that agreement was also part of the alleged fraud. Before the charges, Gere played college basketball for the University of Arizona, West Virginia University, the University of Kentucky, and the University of Cincinnati. Federal officials say financial fraud causes significant harm to victims and undermines public trust. The investigation remains ongoing, and Gere is scheduled to make his initial appearance in federal court this week. As with all criminal cases, the charges are allegations, and he is presumed innocent unless proven guilty in court. This is Claude McDaniel for Streaming News Network. A Texas criminal defense attorney has been charged with murder following the fatal shooting of his longtime friend and roommate during a late-night confrontation at a Houston residence. Authorities say 46-year-old Michael Stewart Driver is accused of killing 48-year-old Jesse Reyes after an argument between the two men turned physical on the night of June 27. According to investigators, Reyes was shot once in the chest inside the home. Driver called emergency services after the shooting and reportedly told dispatchers that Reyes had been attempting to gouge out his eye before the gun was fired. Police say there is no dispute over who fired the weapon. Instead, the investigation centers on whether Driver's actions were legally justified as self-defense. Driver is represented by a team of criminal defense attorneys, who maintain their client acted to protect himself and intend to contest the murder charge in court. As with all criminal cases, Driver is presumed innocent unless proven guilty. The case has also prompted a conflict of interest review because Driver's brother is a prosecutor in Harris County and is currently seeking a judgeship. Prosecutors have requested that the local district attorney's office be removed from the case to avoid any appearance of bias, with neighboring prosecutors expected to assume responsibility if the request is granted. This is Claude McDaniel of Streaming News Network. Federal immigration officials are requesting that Michigan authorities transfer custody of a Haitian national charged with murder rather than release him if criminal proceedings conclude. 20-year-old Valmir Jemsley is accused of fatally stabbing his co-worker, 21-year-old Brandon Eduardo Velasquez Chavez, during an argument at a food processing plant in Coldwater, Michigan, on June 30. According to investigators, the confrontation escalated after a dispute involving a knife. Authorities allege Jemsley chased Chavez before stabbing him in the back. Court documents indicate Jemsley told investigators that Chavez had headbutted him during the altercation. Despite life-saving efforts by first responders, Chavez died at the scene. Jemsley has been charged with murder and has pleaded not guilty. He is being held without bond in the Branch County Jail. The Department of Homeland Security says Jemsley entered the United States illegally through Texas in 2024 before later obtaining a work visa. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has filed an immigration detainer requesting notification and custody before any potential release from local authorities. During a court hearing, prosecutors described the charge as one of the most serious offenses under the law and argued that Jemsley should remain in custody while the case proceeds. The criminal case remains pending, and Jemsley is presumed innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. This is Claude McDaniel with Streaming News Network. A new Washington state law is drawing legal challenges after lawmakers approved the transfer of billions of dollars from a closed public safety retirement system to help fund other state priorities. Governor Bob Ferguson signed the legislation on April 1. The measure restructures the Retired Law Enforcement Officers and Firefighters Retirement System Plan 1 and authorizes the transfer of nearly $3.9 billion in surplus pension assets. According to the legislation, approximately $569 million is designated for the state's climate commitment account, while other funds are directed to additional budget needs. The law comes as Washington addresses a projected budget shortfall. Supporters argue that the surplus belongs to the state and can be responsibly redirected while continuing to meet all promised retirement benefits. Opponents strongly disagree. A group of retired law enforcement officers and firefighters has filed a federal class action lawsuit, arguing that the transfers violate constitutional protections and state law governing pension funds. They contend the surplus should remain dedicated exclusively to retirement obligations and warn the action could set a precedent for using pension assets to address future budget deficits. The controversy has also renewed broader discussions about public pension management, investment strategies, and the fiduciary responsibilities of government officials overseeing retirement systems. The lawsuit is now moving through the federal court system, where judges will determine whether the legislation complies with state and federal law. This is Claude McDaniel with Streaming News Network. Education Secretary Linda McMahon says the Trump administration is prepared to take additional action against Harvard University if officials determine the school continues to operate diversity, equity, and inclusion programs that violate federal law. Speaking on a recent podcast, McMahon said the administration could pursue further investigations, legal action by the Department of Justice, and potential consequences involving federal funding if Harvard fails to comply with federal requirements. Since taking office in January of 2025, President Donald Trump has issued executive actions aimed at eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion programs that his administration believes conflict with federal civil rights laws. Harvard has also faced investigations by the Department of Education over allegations involving campus anti-Semitism and race-conscious admissions practices. In addition, the Department of Justice has filed legal action seeking information related to the university's admissions policies. The dispute has already resulted in a significant legal battle. In 2025, the Department of Health and Human Services suspended approximately $2.2 billion in federal research grants to Harvard, alleging noncompliance with federal non-discrimination requirements. A federal judge later ordered the funding restored, and that ruling is currently under appeal. Harvard has maintained that its policies comply with the law while continuing to defend its academic independence in court. This is Claude McDaniel with Streaming News Network. Richard Gere is once again making headlines after new family photos shared during a 4th of July visit to New York sparked widespread discussion on social media. The 76-year-old actor, best known for his role in Pretty Woman, appeared alongside his wife, Alejandra Silva, and their 2 young sons during the holiday weekend. While many online comments focused on the family's vacation, others centered on the couple's 34-year age difference. Gere and Silva first met in 2004 but reconnected a decade later before marrying in 2018. They now have 2 sons together. The couple relocated from the United States to Spain in 2024, settling near Silva's hometown. The recently shared photos offered fans another glimpse into their family life and prompted renewed interest in the reasons behind the move. Gere was previously married to actress and model Carrie Lowell and supermodel Cindy Crawford before beginning his relationship with Silva. While the online reaction has included both praise and criticism, the couple has not publicly responded to the renewed attention surrounding their personal lives.
Thank you for listening to Streaming News Network videos and our short reports. Please like and subscribe to our news channel.